Hello friends, this is Carrie and welcome back to I Like Reddit channel. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. In today's video we have another mix of subs including Entitled People, Entitled Parents, and a new one to this channel, Stolen Seats, which is a great subreddit for people like me who obsess over stolen seats, stolen parking spots, etc. Anyway, let's jump right into the first story. Our first story is by Pineapple Upside Down Cake. Older brother said he needed rent money, but just wanted me to pay for his vacation. This is not my main account and English is not my first language. First, I'm 31 male, middle child of 3. I have 2 brothers, one younger, 25 male, and one older, 38 male. My brothers and I have never been close, and I was often overlooked by my parents and most relatives compared to them. Not really relevant to the story, but I just wanted to draw a picture. About 3 years ago, I was approached by my parents and older brother for a loan to help him pay rent. My siblings and I have never been close. After moving out around late 2015, I was already pretty distant with them by this point due to many years of BS, but that's an entirely different series of stories. However, I was led to believe that my brother was in a really bad financial situation and that he wasn't able to afford his rent. Back then, I knew he recently went back to pursue an academic degree while still working a crappy job, so it made sense. I agreed to give them the money, but I made it very clear it was a loan and will need the money back. All 3 agreed, and my parents even said that they would pay me back in a few weeks. They both had high-paying jobs, so I didn't have any reason to be suspicious. So I wrote my brother a check stating that a very specific amount of money was to help pay for 3 months' rent, about $2,500 USD. A few weeks go by and I decide to just be patient and considerate towards my brother, knowing his financial situation wasn't the best. However, a few weeks become a month becomes 2, and then there's no word from my brother or my parents. I reach out, but I was told to be patient, and my mother even had the audacity to call me a psycho. It was a common thing she did whenever she was being confronted by people. Being relatively clueless about legal stuff back then, I gave up and decided to move on. However, a couple of weeks later, I get contacted by one of my cousins telling me how amazing I was for paying for my brother's vacation with cousin's sister. She told me they had been planning on going for months, and he was the only one who was having trouble affording a ticket. Here's how the conversation went. Me, C, cousin, OB, older brother, CS, cousin, sister. Me, cousin, what trip? Cousin, they had been planning on going abroad for months, but older brother was the only one who couldn't afford it. Me, wait, what? Cousin, he didn't tell you? Me, no, he told me he needed money to cover rent. Cousin, I don't understand. I then told her I had to go, so that was the end of the conversation. Next, I immediately called up my brother, demanding to know what was going on. He basically laughed in my face and thanked me for paying for his vacation. When I told him I want him to pay me back the money, he told me to go F myself before blocking my number as well as on Facebook. I was furious. The next day at work, I decided to ask my friends in our legal team, and they referred me to a good lawyer who even agreed to represent me for a lower price than what he usually charges. I asked him to wait because I needed to compile a few things first. First, I gathered all phone recordings, screenshots, and every text concerning the loan and what the money was intended for. Pictures from his trip, had his girlfriend, she didn't go on the trip, email me receipts of both the hotel room, the plane ticket, as well as any texts from him regarding how much spending money he left with, getting written statements from his landlord that older brother never had trouble paying his rent. Note: 1. Girlfriend had no idea what was going on, but she and I get along quite well, so she agreed on helping. 2. In my country, it's legal to record people and phone calls as long as you are part of the conversation. I decided to give my brother one final chance before taking him to court. I then texted my dad, remember older brother has me blocked, asking him to have my older brother call me and pay me back the loan, otherwise I'm taking him to court. Dad got nervous and handed the phone to my mom, who flipped out after I told her what I was planning on doing. She stuck to the psycho remarks as well as going for the because we're family shtick, as well as can't you just do this one thing for your brother and When has your brother ever asked you for anything? Which is when I ran the oh so long list in my head of all the times my brother asked, demanded, and took me to do things for him. I finished the call telling them that OB better contact me today and hung up. Not even an hour later, my brother called me screaming, calling me every name in the book, threatening to beat me up, to sue me for harassing his girlfriend, stalking him, and so on. I once again told him to pay me back for everything, otherwise I'll be seeing him in court. Older brother told me to go F myself and watch my back before he hung up. Yes, that call was recorded as well. After a few weeks, we met up in court. My brother's lawyer attempts a dismissal, all while he and my brother are trying to portray me as only doing this for attention. I get questioned by both lawyers. Evidence was presented. The judge looks less and less happy with my family. My mom keeps telling me how ashamed I should be for doing this to my family, blah blah blah. The judge ruled in my favor, as my brother not only had no evidence, but had also lied in his testimony. I was to be paid the full amount of the check as well as the court fees. After that, I went no contact with both my parents and my older brother. Changed my phone number and my address. Me and my younger brother still talk, but we have very minimal contact. Most of my relatives took my parents' side, saying I shouldn't have taken them to court and it was cruel. My grandparents on both sides, to my surprise, said I actually did the right thing, as well as my mom's sister, my favorite aunt, also had taken my side. I haven't spoken to any of them in over 3 years. My mom and dad had tried contacting me before I switched my number, but it's never to apologize other than guilt-tripping me about the whole thing. It's because OP's immoral parents don't think what they did was wrong. Our next story is by Shadowfang84. I shouldn't get my badge since I was too young. Backstory. I was a real extrovert as a kid, and so I took the Boy Scouts. This was before the Girl Scouts could join the Boy Scouts. I was really good at it, and I continued to work hard, and when I was 13, I took my first aid merit badge. So I did my thing and got the pre-badge requirements done, so I was really pumped. Let's meet the cast. OP, me. EP, entitled Counselor. SM, Scoutmaster. K, EP's kid. Story. So I got all of my prerequisites done, and I was super hyped to do the badge along with the others. So I showed my understanding of the badge, and even the older scouts were impressed. So when EP needed help, I gave it to her, not knowing the results. So I was helping a kid out, and the EP pulled me aside, only to tell me this. You need to grow up a bit before you can get this badge. Look at my son. He 100% knows what he's doing and is all over first class. I was a tenderfoot at the time, so I tried to calmly explain to her that I obviously knew what I was talking about for the badge, and I proved that I have all the prereqs. So this went back and forth like tug of war, but the tug of war quickly escalated to war. EP. Even if you have the requirements, you're just a stupid kid and don't know anything, or something along those lines. Me. Well, clearly you're dumber than me if you need me to explain the material to you. EP. Well, you need to learn to respect your elders. Me. Well, clearly elders are smart. Clearly you're a rock. She actually grabbed me and pushed me out the door to the first aid training. Me. Get your grimy, wrinkled, filthy hands off me, you jerk. After I got the head leader of the camp, she reluctantly gave me a blue card. Blue cards show that you actually got the badge fair and square. Finals day rolls around, and I get my envelope with all my blue cards. I had passed them all with flying colors, except for one. Hi, welcome back to insert game show name here. Let's see our question. What badge was missing from the envelope? Was it A, fishing, B, first aid, C, leatherworking? If you guessed B, you would be correct. Well, it wasn't missing, it was shredded up, and a white piece of paper said, "Grow up." I was furious. I grabbed my scoutmaster, dragged him along to the first aid site, and let her get a piece of my mind. She denied it left and right, even had the audacity to say, "Why would it be little old me?" Scoutmaster. Ma'am, we know it was you. We have cameras for the YPT, but they catch everything. Slowly the color drains from her face. I never knew about these cameras, but it's better late than never. I had to prove to the council that I did actually understand the material, but in the end I aced it. Thankfully the EP got fired on the spot, and I got my badges after all. Edit. I forgot to mention that her son came in and also reported her to the police afterwards, so he was cool. If you've been watching until here and are enjoying my content, please put some heart emojis in the comment section down below. Our next post is by LDZ. A man misunderstands the flight attendant's directions and feels entitled to a free premium seat because they won't apologize for lying to him. I was told to post this here from another sub. This happened last night, and it was one of the most satisfying encounters I've ever had with someone with a downright comical sense of entitlement. I took a flight from San Francisco to Boston. That was in the afternoon after a full day of work. I have a $200 airline credit to use on just one flight before I lose it at the end of the year. So I was debating between trying to drink through $200 of free booze over a 6-hour flight versus upgrading my seat to the front row. In the end, I decided to go with the seat upgrade, and I picked the window seat in the absolute front row of the plane with a shameful amount of legroom and an empty middle seat. I never get upgrades, so this felt like quite a luxury to me. Turns out the rest of the plane was completely full, so I was feeling pretty good about this decision. However, I still had some work to do on my laptop and was disappointed that because there was no seat in front of me, I couldn't keep my backpack in front of me, and I realized I had to go and fight the mob of people still boarding for some overhead bin space before it all filled up. There was a very nice businessman sitting in the aisle seat in my row who stood up to help me. This is relevant later. The overhead bins filled up very quickly, at which point the flight attendant at the plane door started announcing, "Overhead bins are almost full, put your bags in the first one you see," to all the people still boarding the plane. Now, here comes the last man to board the plane. He's probably about 6'3", and he runs in, kind of shoots the breeze with one of the flight attendants for a few minutes, and I'm not paying too much attention, besides hoping he's not going to take the middle seat, and the fact that he's talking very loudly and he seems to be a bit drunk. For the rest of the story, I will call this man Dirk, because I don't know what the male version of Karen is called. Nobody is in any rush to start getting ready for takeoff. We soon know why. The pilot gets on the loudspeaker and says because of the weather in Boston, we need to wait here before we can take off. Now Dirk has stopped talking to the flight attendant and starts walking down the aisle and sees our empty seat and announces to no one in particular, "Cool, I'll take this first seat because it's empty." Throws his backpack down in the space in front of us and slams himself into the middle seat. Now of course I wouldn't have minded if someone had purchased the middle seat, but now I'm grumbling a bit internally thinking about how I spent my airline credits on an upgrade instead of booze, while this guy is going to get a nice seat for free. And nobody immediately came up to him and asked him to move his backpack. So I'm also frustrated that I had to go and put mine away, and now his is in front of my feet. And finally, Dirk is extremely loud and vocal. For example, when the pilot came on the loudspeaker again and said that we'll be waiting 45 minutes before takeoff, Dirk yelled, "Man, this is BS." Stuff like that over and over. So at this point, I haven't said anything to him, but I'm sitting there probably looking like WTF. It's been about 5 minutes already, not too long, but I'm just starting to think that they're going to let this fly. Then comes one of the flight attendants and walks up to the guy and says, "Sir, can I please see your boarding pass?" Dirk laughs a bit and says that he just showed it to the gate agent. The flight attendant repeats that he wants to see it. So Dirk starts rummaging through his backpack and hands the attendant a crumpled up piece of paper and goes back to his phone. The flight attendant uncrumples it and now starts looking annoyed and goes, "Sir, you just handed me a receipt. Try again." Dirk starts belly laughing like, "Oh, my bad," and pulls his boarding pass out of his pocket. Of course, he's in 32B. The flight attendant asks him to go sit in his assigned seat. Now starts the fight, with Dirk saying, "But the guy said to take the first available seat. Nobody is sitting here anyway." And the attendant repeats that he didn't know how he heard that people need to pay to upgrade these seats, and he needs to go to his assigned seat now. Things started to get heated when Dirk goes full on screaming now, saying, "Why? He did say I need to take the first available seat then. Why was he lying?" The attendant is yelling back, "This isn't Southwest," and the rest of the plane is silent and watching. Now at this point, I'm guessing Dirk misinterpreted the guy at the door saying to throw your bags in the first available overhead bins. But I did not want to get involved and have this potential drunk man next to me direct his anger at me. And you can't argue with stupid. They had already made it very clear by this point that it didn't matter what the flight attendant had said, so I think Dirk is just making up excuses and digging his heels in. At this point, there are 3 flight attendants in the aisle arguing with Dirk, who is still scream repeating the same thing about being lied to over and over. They are saying he needs to move or get kicked off the plane. Dirk is replying that of course he would rather make his flight back home to Boston tonight than get kicked off, but he needs an explanation first as to why they lied to him. In comes the boss lady, who wasn't taking any of Dirk's crap, to join the argument. She interrupts Dirk and says, "Look, you have 2 options. Take your assigned seat or get off the plane. I don't care what you think you heard." I don't know why we're still having this conversation. Then when Dirk would open his mouth to continue arguing, the lady would hold up her hands and yell, "Ah, ah, ah," like a mother silencing a toddler having a tantrum. And I am sitting there 6 inches away from all the action going down, like Michael Jackson eating popcorn very quickly and enjoying himself. Dirk sits there in silence for a few moments, mouth open, looking at the lady, and then stays sitting in the seat, looking back at his phone, and starts mumbling again in a low voice about being lied to. At this point, the 3 flight attendants walk away and Dirk seems to think that he's won. But lo and behold, a minute later, security comes on the plane. Now seeing this, Dirk stands straight up and says, "Okay, I'll go take my seat," and starts to walk down the aisle. But they stop him and remove him from the plane. We didn't see him again, and me and this nice man sitting in the aisle seat ended up getting free drinks for the rest of the flight for our trouble. Too long didn't read. A guy on my flight tried to snag an unoccupied business class seat for free because probably purposefully misheard directions, commits to keeping the seat when they threaten to kick him off the plane, ends up getting kicked off the plane. I get free drinks for the rest of the flight. Our final post is by Small Gay. EM demands I let her children walk my aggressive dog. So my last story with Daisy did relatively well, so I thought I'd share this one. We don't have a load, but being a beautiful pup, we have a few. If you want to know more about Daisy specifically, and her first bad altercation, my first post is on my profile, although I don't have any idea how to link. Apologies. General rundown is Daisy, an extremely dangerous dog, and I used to walk her. Perfectly behaved with her family and on her property, but take her off and she was a wild animal. She hates everything, mainly children and other dogs. So we're doing our thing, walking her by the dog park. Not ideal at all, but her property literally backs up into it, so it's kind of impossible to avoid. And a dog approaches us. She plays with it and has a good time. Some days she's really well behaved, so we decided to walk her through the park. She was being great unless other dogs barked at her. She didn't acknowledge them. That is, until Karen walks up. I get the usual snotty comments, whining about her harness and muzzle and yada yada. 2 kids, about 5 and 10, run up, the oldest squeezing a Chihuahua type dog. I thought that poor thing is gonna pop. Daisy is getting stressed and turns and runs the opposite direction. This is good behavior, so I say I have to go, and particularly run with her. Well, they release the hounds. 3 Chihuahuas come, and they're biting at our ankles. Where did the other 2 come from? I have no idea. Daisy snaps and starts lunging, trying to bite the dogs, who eventually back off. My ankles are bleeding, and I'm allergic to dog saliva, so I can feel myself getting sweaty and whatnot. She makes some crappy excuse about the dogs being happy to have a friend. Some people are looking on, but don't approach because of my wild dog. Kids stand there trying to pet her, and she's still snapping at the dogs and now at the kids too. Lady holds her hand out and asks for the leash. I'm feeling weak, my knees are shaking, and all my strength is going into holding the dog back. She says something along the lines of, "My daughters want to walk her. She clearly needs exercise and you obviously aren't doing it properly." I will add that Daisy is not overweight, but she needs a good old deshed. I don't know what that is. We argued for a few minutes and she goes, "Will you calm her down? Stop making her do that trick." My dumb self gathers all my strength and stands straight and looks her in the eye and goes, "Look, she's an ex-police dog. She does this when she smells drugs. I wasn't going to tell you, but if you F off, I won't report you. If you don't leave me alone, I will report you, also your dogs, for attacking me. So will it be 3 dead dogs and possible drug charge, and an evaluation of your care of dogs, or a peaceful walk home?" I don't know how she thought that was true, but she got very red in the face and dragged her family away. I collapsed over the grass and took an allergy medication, although it was a little late. This isn't as good as the other ones, but it's another day in the life of Sebastian and Daisy. That's all the stories I have for today. Links to the original Reddit posts will be in the description box below. Please stop on by Reddit to show the OP some love and an upvote. If you enjoy my content, please comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to let you know when I've uploaded new videos. Thank you for watching and have a great day.